Two-time Hall of Fame inductees, Brent Godarzi and Marty Young. Back-to-back #1 trucking firm in the nation. Back-to-back best attorney and best law firm in East Texas.
Hello folks, welcome to the Gilmer Buckeye Coaches Show. I'm your host today, Todd Robinson, and the other General Metzel leading the Army of the Buckeyes is head coach and athletic director Alan Metzel. Alan, I don't want to do a Joe Dodd impersonation. I know he hosted and filled in for us last week, but I want to play a little statistical did you know. Former Buckeye head coach and athletic director Jeff Traylor coined the phrase Beast Texas. Okay, and he did that for a reason, because there's so much talent at the collegiate level and at the NFL level that comes out of East Texas. Well, just to let you know, we filmed earlier in as you took over the head coaching job, we filmed a little bit of history about the Gilmer Buckeyes throughout history and who came, where. A lot of people don't know that the Gilmer Buckeyes were responsible for 8 NFL players. The first was Mr. Roy Cookie Hopkins, that was at Bruce High School in the late 60s, and then we followed up with a lot of guys that you coach, from Kenny Petway to Manuel Johnson to Curtis Brown to David Snow, and now, of course, Blake Lynch and Chris Boyd, who were 2 active. Just to put it into context, Longview has 25 guys that played in the NFL. Dangerfield, for example, 10 guys. I'll give you a guess how many the Liberty Isle Leopards that we just faced has on that list during the same time.
I don't know the number. I do know some of the guys, though.
You tried to stop
James specifically, and yeah, they've had a handful.
It was 11. It was 11. And we saw that on Friday night as the depth. And you tried to warn us. I watched the coaching show from California last week. You tried to warn us that the athletes that come out of Liberty Isle are for real. And boy, were you right. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's just, Texarkana, you got TI, you got Pleasant Grove, you got LE, Arkansas High also, but it's a hotbed for athletes. And every year, it just seems like, LE guys graduate and we think, they'll dip down a little bit. They don't. They just have new guys that come in. You saw number 15, who's a freshman the other night.
I saw way too much of him.
He is he's going to be a handful for 3 more years. He just super, super talented kids. And Coach Davis has gotten them to where they're playing right. And so we knew going in, this is a formidable opponent. Well,
we knew from the first snap. Obviously,
literally,
we played several unbelievably talented, probably play on Sunday quarterback talents this year already. Chapel Hill, obviously, just a couple of weeks ago, that young man from Texarkana at Pleasant Grove, unbelievably talented. But this quarterback, Stanton, I think is his name, was really a passer. He could spin the ball. We were really impressed on the broadcast from how he could sit back there. He looks like a guard, but he throws it like Tom Brady.
He can sling it. He really does. And, they hit several things down the field. He does a good job of getting the ball up. He's got athletes who just are able to go run under it. You got to credit them to playing to their strengths. They were trying to make sure our D-line couldn't get in his face. And so he'd catch it and get it out pretty quick, and nicely done on their part on many cases.
Well, both in the kids' side and on the coaching staff side, talk about the challenge between going for 3 practice weeks in 2 weeks, preparing for Pleasant Grove and that wing T. We know how the Black Flag showed up against Pleasant Grove, 6 straight 3-and-outs. I think Joe mentioned 4 total yards in the first half against the Black Flag defense. And then you face that with that caliber of athletes 1 week later. That's like trying to play Army and then turn around and playing USC. It's just crazy in terms of the juxtaposition of those 2 styles.
No doubt. One style is all run, with a throw every now and then, maybe 5, 6 throws in a game, as opposed to the other night, which is completely spread out, no back. We're going to throw it most of the time, which is part of the game. It's part of the challenge, and being able to be versatile and take your scheme and be able to blend it both ways. And they got us a time or two. Most of the time it was, a guy didn't hear the call and didn't rotate over or whatever the case may be. But we're going to need to work on that. So those are all areas, our communication, being able to play against a team that throws it, a team that runs it, whatever, we've got to be prepared for whatever they bring to us.
Well, you got to be happy that, first of all, you come out of this first third of that second phase gauntlet in the district competition. You knew you had both Liberty Ilo and Pleasant Grove, the two probably most physically talented teams outside of us in our district, back-to-back to start district competition. You come out 2-0, and now you look at the rest of the district schedule, and you kind of have to little sigh of relief there and kind of going, okay, we got, maybe the most difficult part behind us in terms of athletes, and you still come out unscathed, 6-0 start. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, obviously we had goals coming into the season of where we wanted to be after pre-district. I think, we exceeded those, coming out of those first 4 games, and then coming into the district play or second phase of the year, we knew right off the bat we needed to beat these two. We needed to, and so we've been geared to those two. So now we've got to kind of recalibrate again, refocus, all right, where are we now? What do we need to accomplish this week, the next week, the following week? There's 3 really run-heavy teams, so there again, we've got to make sure we're prepared for that. We also want to make sure that we're getting enough against the passing game that after 3 weeks of heavy run that we would be ready for a passing team in the playoffs, that kind of a thing. So there's a number of things that we'll be working on over the course of these next 3 weeks as we prepare to get into the next phase of the year.
Yeah, it does feel like you kind of crested that hill as the first part of the season, the first half of the season, you hope after 8 weeks is halfway over. And now you kind of get into that downhill run going into the playoffs. I'm sure overall you can't be feeling better about your guys and your team, but do you feel that this team is really now starting to hit their stride in terms of young guys and a lot of new starters that now have almost played kind of a full varsity season almost? Certainly after the district, they'll have 10 games under their belt. Where do you feel about the positioning in terms of other years? And people forget, you've been here for 20 plus years. You've been on these rides all the way to the, whatever your last game is for a number of times.
Right.
Kind of compare and contrast those groups.
Well, in certain ways, I think we're ahead of other years, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we've played 2 16-game years in a row and a 14-game season before that. So from the people underestimate the value of just playing a long time. And so many teams, they get to week 7 and 8, they're already feeling like they're almost at the end of the season. And so you typically will fulfill that, and your season comes to an end. One of the reasons you see a lot of the same teams in deep into the playoffs every year is they're used to it. They have an understanding that week 8 is halfway, and so their mindset is different, and they're able to have a pacing that's different. They're able to see the finish where it is, and so they're able to come prepared for that. There's a certain mental discipline. I think because we've played so much over the past few years, our guys understand that. That's a benefit. From the standpoint of some of the youth that we have playing, we're still in the progression of growing, but I do feel like we're making strides. We are. We're not where we were week 2, week 4. Now here we are, really going into week 8, if you will, and so I'm pleased with the maturation process, but obviously we still have things to grow in.
Absolutely. Well, let's look at some film and talk about this last week and exactly what we saw. You warned us. You told us that LE was still going to be LE, and we talked about that list of greats that they've had. And boy, I tell you what, they're stuck in Texarkana in terms of district. We've had the same district as you mentioned last week, pretty much the last 6 years.
Right.
Texarkana is always going to be in the north, west or northeast district because there's no place for them to go.
Yeah.
Liberty Ilo, Pleasant Grove, all those Texarkana teams. Boy, I looking at number 15 and some of those guys, I hope we go south.
Very talented.
My goodness.
Very
huge
talented.
up front and unbelievably talented.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, they score on the first play of the game. Did a great job. They motioned out to an empty set. Like I said, we didn't get moved over, and so they hit the guy down the seam and they scored. They've got guys who can run. So I'm putting up here, one of the areas that we wanted to focus on was our special teams. We felt like we could really gain an advantage in this area in the game. And so here we are, they've scored, they come out for their extra point, they line up in the gate, our guys are prepared for that, they shift over, and then we go steal a point, where they would hope to just have the kick and make an extra point, and here they come. And we have Aaron Bell. He's just over there, right guard, and Aaron slices through the gap between the center and the right guard and blocks the kick. Well, that right there takes some of that adrenaline rush, some of that momentum after the touchdown, and it kind of stops it. And so I thought, we call it a counterattack. The jawbreakers, their job is to counterattack. The other team has won as far as the touchdown, but then we've got to turn right back around and counterattack. And so that's a mentality that we preach on the team, on the defense, and I saw that happen right there. And it came back around, and we were able to get going again instead of, oh no, we're in trouble. You just counterattack, and then you get into what you do.
Yeah, and you steal a point. I mean,
absolutely.
If you look at, college football, pro football today, a point is it's worth however many hours that you got to prepare.
Right.
And obviously how many, special teams, big plays did we see? All that 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 2 weeks off of coaching, boy, did it come to fruition on Friday night on special teams. I mean, it literally couldn't have been any better on special teams.
I agree. I'm going to show this next highlight. So we take the ball down and we score. And after we score, and now it's 7-6, and we felt like we had found a weakness on their kick return team. And so right off the bat, we went for an onside kick. Jose Gouveia, tremendous kick. Will Henderson beats their guy to the ball. We felt like they were leaving a little early over there on their side, and so we went straight to it and got the ball. So again, to talk about the special teams, right now we've got the ball again and a chance to go score. So overall, I'll share this now. Our special teams, we keep the hidden yardage, of our yardage gain, whether we're returning or they're returning or whatever, and we won that by 451 yards.
That's unbelievable.
That's probably the most we've ever won again.
I cannot remember, when you're talking about all aspects of the game at any level, a couple of 100 yards is yards gained.
It's huge. That counts. Every 100 yards you consider is worth a touchdown.
A touchdown.
Right. So you're talking about almost 5 right there.
Any team try to come back on the Buckeyes 5 touchdowns down. We saw
big.
Chapel Hill in 7 turnovers in the same rule.
Right.
Just couldn't have gone any better, but it seemed like even that quality of that kick. Mm-hmm. Hey, there's a lot of NFL teams playing right now as we speak today that would love to have that onside kick that Gouveia just kicked. Perfect execution.
Nice job, and credit to Coach Josh Riley. He does a great job coaching our kickers. So that's impressive. Okay, so here we are on offense. I've got Will Henderson circled there. We've got them spread out. We're out in a tandem set, really stretching them for width to get 5-on-5 in the box. Caden does a good job of seeing that there's 5 in the box, so he hands the ball. You're going to see there, I've got it drawn up, how we're going to try and get as many double teams as we can. So we're going to double our left guard and left tackle. We're going to double our center and right guard, and then we're going to single block with our right tackle. But then after you hand the ball, then the guards have got to get off to the backers, and that's what you see right there, and what gave Will the chance to get on to the end zone. So watch from this angle. I stretched it on out where you can see that here's our double teams and then our block by our right tackle, and then watch how both guards get to that next level right there, and Will hits it, finds the hole, and of course with his speed he takes it into the end zone. So fantastic job.
And what strikes me is the size of those guys in those white jerseys, especially up front. They are a 5-man box and 3 down, an odd front is what we would call that, because those 3 guys are so big and so athletic. Mm-hmm. It seemed like as the night went on, because they played a whale of a second quarter.
They did.
But as the night went on, our guys just seemed to get the better of them until once we got to the fourth quarter. We were running a marathon and they were running a sprint kind of thing.
We were able to lean on them throughout the game and kind of turn that, push that pendulum over like you're talking about. You bet. Next highlight we've got here is, let's see, Rowan's touchdown catch from Caden. So we've got Rowan in split out here on the trip side, and I've got him circled here. He's going to beat the guy. They're trying to double him with a guy off the ball, linebacker, and then a safety over the top. Caden ends up getting flushed, but he stays with him, puts it on it, and then he does the thing that he just does where people fall off of him and jukes the guy at the end and scores. That's multiple weeks he does that. They hit him and then they just fall on the ground.
He has such an innate balance. You talked last week about Rose. His mind is going faster. But I mean, we're going to see it, I'm sure, on the punt return that he had it for a touchdown too. How he literally is seeing 21 other guys on the field and not just seeing what they're doing now, but seing what they're going to be able to do.
Right.
And really put himself in a position to use that speed that he's got and that balance. I'm just glad I'm not a defensive coordinator waking up in the morning watching film and trying to stop him.
For sure, no doubt. Here we are. We've got them backed up down on the 1 yard line, and they're going to punt. I've got Braylon Ward's down there at defensive tackle, and he's going to just destroy this guard and almost blocks the punt with the guard. Right here, takes him all the way back to the punter.
That wasn't the only time he did that.
Yeah. So Rowan picks the ball off the ground, and then, like you say, he's just he's got that innate ability to know how to set people up and then find the hole, find the opening, and takes it back for a score. So, again, on their special teams, we had a blocked extra point. We had a punt return for a touchdown. Our kickoff returns were over 100 yards. We made all of our extra points, and we were able to get the ball on 3 different kickoffs. So that was a pretty impressive night. Really nice job by our guys on the special teams and our coaches coaching it, of finding the weaknesses and then the kids executing it. So great job there.
You look up at the end of the game and you look at the scoreboard and it's 59-20, and you kind of go, how did that happen? Because just a second ago, it seemed like a really tight game in the second quarter. But boy, do those extra yards, 458, come into play when you start talking about special teams. Because really, when you look at the scoreboard, it's exactly where the numbers say it should be.
Correct.
You should be right there at that number.
Right. Well, here's Cade Bowman. The LE offense is driving, and they're attempting to tie the score here. Or actually, tie the score. So you have a 14-point swing here.
Right.
Yeah, right at the end of the half. And Cade picks it and goes 87 yards for a touchdown. Of course, you can see Rowan and Seth Jordan there leading the way. That's a drill they practice every Monday, where they're going to catch and score, and the guys follow them down the sideline and make sure nobody gets to him. Excellent job done. Huge momentum thing. I really felt like that was what took the wind out of their sails.
I think you're right. You're right. But I watching that happen from the press boxes, that's on our sideline. So many times defenses, when they get a turnover, they get excited, panic. You see it happen on Saturdays where all you start looking for the flags. And you see no flags, number one. That's the most impressive part because there are no penalties. But when your defensive tackle is leading the charge down the field,
that's a good thing.
It's a good thing. I mean, Seth Jordan was hustling his tail off the whole way, and he was as excited for Mr. Bowman as anybody else.
Absolutely.
I was thrilled to see that.
Well, that's what you want. When guys are excited for their teammates and them making plays, well, then you're getting to where you want to be. And that's as important as making the interception.
Absolutely.
It really is.
I think with that convoy, I might could have returned that one for a touchdown.
We would have had a shot. Maybe if we tag teamed it. I took it from you at the 50.
You need to hand the baton off before I pull something.
Pass it, exactly. Okay, this was right in the start of the second half, and we run to our nub side here, or to the tight end side, and our tight end does a great job blocking. I believe it's Aaron Bell on this play. You've got Ashton Haynes back here in the backfield, got him circled, and he comes out of this Aaron's at tight end. He creates a great crease, and he was just gone, like being shot out of a cannon, and takes it in for a touchdown. And so any hope that there was ended. That was a big statement right there. So watch Aaron block out. You're going to see our line do a great job creating that crease, and then he was gone, right down the hash. So excellent job by the guys on the edge. Okay, we move from there, and we've been running it pretty heavily, and so as a result, they're squeezing down more and more, trying to get more guys in the box. You see the outside backer walk into the box. Their backside safety is playing pretty low, and so we put in a pop pass here and stick it in the belly of Will here, and they all move in and just throw it right there to Elias on the other side of the linebackers. Really a pretty play. Excellent job of executing it right there. Stuck it in there.
He's not a guy that finds himself in the end zone very often, but I tell you what, if any guy earned those, it's Elias and Chris Gee, and I'm like, we need to have a game where those guys can score 5 touchdowns each. I'm not sure that that's possible, but both of those guys had such fantastic games that things that you don't just recognize. Right. It's nice to see them in the end zone. Exactly. And got nice depth, get outside that safety on that route, and made a great catch and earned himself a touchdown. I thought that was the highlight play of the night.
It was fun. And if you notice, the backside safety's coming fast. He did a great job of working for width,
right?
To create that, because that guy closed a lot of space there. Nicely done on his part. So got just stretched out the lead a little bit further. Here we have Ashton scoring again down here in the red zone. He's such a good inside the tackles runner. Part of why I put this play on here is watch the right tackle and the tight end. This is Braylon Ward and Elias Elazar Posada. Look how they just drive that guy. I mean, that's a pretty good double team right there.
It was a blindside movie. I mean, it was. I think we actually got flagged for that at the end of the
I told him I wasn't going to fuss on that one.
I don't know how you can. We had that same conversation in the press box where you asked the player, what did he do? Well, he blocked too hard. Yeah. Okay, I'll take that one.
We'll eat that one. That's great effort right there. That's great effort.
Well, I tell you, when you see 44 coming in and we've got the ball, somebody is about to get blocked. I promise you.
They're going to get moved. He's a earth mover. Well, you mentioned Chris Gee. I had to put Chris in here. He had 2 back-to-back plays where he just really put a hit on a kid. And so here he is right there at linebacker, and they hand the ball off, and he just reads it and just comes up. And it's a shame you can't have the sound effect as it was live.
We heard it all the way upstairs.
It was a crack.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, those shoulder pads were popping. So, and then he had another one on the very next play that was just an excellent job by him. And I'm so glad that he's finding his niche there at linebacker. He's having a good year. And I finished up here. I had to put Jose on here again. This was not an onside kick. We're kicking it to where there was an opening. But he got such a good spin on the ball that it kicks and pops back.
It's a 9-iron.
Yeah.
And it harkens back to Pittsburgh last year along the sidelines where we picked up a free possession. And to your point, I mean, that play's worth 3 to 4 points on the scoreboard at the end of the night. Just because the field position that it gives you when you wind up getting that ball. Of course, not to mention you eliminate a return from number 15 or any of those unbelievably talented athletes there. It was a heck of a night on special teams.
It was, and he ends up making the recovery. So I had to put it on here. So here comes the ball shooting out, and there he is, little Jose. He kicked it and recovered the fumble.
He was excited too. That's what I like.
He was fine.
He wanted to tell us all he came up with the ball.
No doubt. So awfully proud of him. Great job on his part.
I thought a lot of guys really kind of hit their stride on Friday night. That you see. We don't know from a fan standpoint that this doesn't just start in, even in August and 2-a-days. It starts years ago.
Yes.
This is for a lot of these guys the culmination of 3 years of hard work. And to see it all against an unbelievably good team. Now, I made this comment to Jeff Rash. They got Pleasant Grove next week.
It'll be a battle.
I'm not sure who's going to wind up being a second-place team in the district, but they are a nasty matchup for Pleasant Grove. And I still think to this day Pleasant Grove is probably the number 3 ranked team in the state legitimately. So it is a good team, and I would make the argument that probably for several rounds in the playoffs, our guys that are, let's just say role players, but important role players, are seeing playoff level competitions they're not going to see. So this is not junk time.
Nope.
This is unbelievably important quality snaps that they're getting. To see a guy like Chris Gee, come on and make those type of plays against that type of backs, he's got to feel like I can make that kind of play against anybody.
Anybody, absolutely. Because like you say, they're so athletic that you're playing other teams, 1,000-yard rusher or whatever. You're talking about some dudes. So. Yeah, I would agree completely. It's what we need to get better, and so it was a big win for us, and we're looking forward to another week of going to work.
Well, 6-0. That's a big win for the Buckeyes. got the real, meat of the district competition behind us, but we're not done yet.
No.
Go a long way away, dang near to Oklahoma next week. That we got to load the buses and go all the way to North Lamar, in north of Paris, and they have been improving by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
The last time they were in North Lamar, I think myself and Eric Condis could both suited up and done okay in that game. I don't get the feeling that that's going to be the case this week. Talk a little bit about North Lamar, what we can expect, and how much they've improved. Also, it's crazy to even say this in 2022, but we got to go play on grass, and it's raining outside. That's another thing that occurs is if we get into that cooler temperatures, wet weather on a natural, dirt, mud, grass field, we're going to have to do that this week.
Yeah, and we've got to be prepared for that. Of course, we have natural surface down here that we practice on this year and that sort of thing, so that's helpful. But, they've improved, no doubt. Coach Whitaker, who was Brendan Whitaker, he was at Pittsburgh as an assistant, is now at North Lamar. This is his second year on the job. You can tell they're headed in the right direction. They've won 3 games this year, beat Spring Hill last week in district play. They have a freshman and a JV team. So he's doing the things, whereas a couple of years ago they didn't have a freshman or JV team. We had
everybody was in the band, and that was it.
Scrambling to get games. So he's got his guys. They're sticking this thing out. That's how you start developing people. And in a couple more years, he'll be at a whole nother level because he's doing this. He's getting this done. So hats off to him and the job he's doing. And I'll throw this in, by the way. We're going to play our JV game here Thursday at 5. And the freshmen will follow due to all the Jamboree activities and so forth. That gets people to where they can get a lot easier. So anyway, we flipped those 2 games.
Well, that was my last topic of conversation. Perfect leeway into it. It's not like we don't do this every year. It's not like you haven't been involved in doing it for 20 plus years.
Exactly.
And dealing with Jamboree, all of the quote unquote distractions. I'm not anywhere near as concerned with this group of guys that we've got down here in the field house as I have been in the past with distractions around Jamboree. But it is a different week in Gilmer, Texas when Jamboree's in town.
No doubt.
Just talk about what those differences are and not having school on Wednesday, Thursday night is game, and how that affects your preparation for just the weekly schedule.
Sure. Well, anytime you can create, we're very regimented in everything we do down to the minute. Every day, every kid should know every single day of every week where we are, what we're doing, when we're doing it, and it's in 5 and 10 minute increments. So then you take all of Wednesday out and you take all of Thursday out and all of Friday out from the standpoint of routine, and it can cause, some havoc. It can. But what we do, we try and plan for the differences. We try and make sure that we're allowing kids to go show animals, to be involved in different festivities, etc. And we work around that. We embrace it rather than worry about fighting that kind of thing. And so we just try and stay very organized on when we will be here, when we won't. We try and do a good job of talking to the kids. It gives them an opportunity, especially the varsity on Friday, where you talk about giving them ownership of are you going to make decisions that are going to take away from your team and the growth that you're making, or are you going to have fun and enjoy the week and be able to keep getting better here? Well, that's possible, and that's what we want to do, and that's what we focus on. And so I think usually when you treat young men like young adults, and most of the time they'll step up to that, and if they don't, we hold them accountable and those kind of things. But I feel confident going into the week that we'll do a great job. They did awesome during our bye weeks, of handling that and the self-discipline to have great practices. So we'll take care of business and come out and play well Friday. That's our goal. And hopefully we'll be taking steps up, because we always talk about who are we playing. We're playing ourselves. Did we live up to our standard today? Of where we need to be. That's going to be the mantra for the next 3 weeks going into the playoffs.
Well, it's an exciting time. Want to encourage the Army of Buckeyes to come all the way out and make that long drive. This is one of those opportunities where it's an away game, but we actually have the opportunity to show up with the Army of Buckeyes and outnumber the home team. A lot of people are going to be excited to come watch Gilmer. We're everybody's Super Bowl. That's a privilege that we've earned over the last 20 plus years in building this thing up. You've been such a huge part of that. And in that too, with Yambry Week, I want to ask you to put your administrator hat on for a second, because I'm going to talk about a big part of Friday nights, and that is the Gilmer Buckeye Band that made straight Division I's, going back to state. Last year they finished third in the state competition in military marching band. So as an administrator, it's not just the Buckeyes, it's not just the band.
No.
I laugh all the time and say, I don't even know why we have a student section, because all of our students are involved in something.
Correct.
But not just at a participation level, it's excellence from ROTC to Future Farmers of America to our music programs, obviously our athletic programs, our drama team, our drill team, our barbecue team. I mean, we come to play when the Buckeyes show up. As an administrator, is there something different about just being in Gilmer? And
absolutely. You know, one of the things, and I say this all the time, is how you have great people. And so because of the Sue Witts and the Russell Thomases, or the Lauren Murrays and Donna Lanes, or the Eric Grays, or, you know, and I could go on and on with all the different names, we all love each other too, and we're excited for each other and cheering for each other. You know, Thursday night last week, our junior high band was phenomenal. I mean, they were as good as most high school bands, I would say. You know, playing in the stands for the junior high game. It just, you're excited to see kids participate, be involved, and excel. You know, not just they're in it, but they're excelling. And so, you know, we want to champion these kids in whatever area they are. Couldn't be happier for the band and what they've accomplished. And they're excited because they get to go play in McLean Stadium. We're sad because we can't go over and cheer them on like we did last year.
It was not close enough. Right.
That's a haul. But we are excited for them, and you know, expect them to do fantastic.
Well, just on the record as a Buckeye that went to Baylor and as a graduate, I just got to tell you that the band can go play at McLean Stadium anytime they want. But the next time that you schedule McLean Waco game, I'm out.
I've been told, man. No Wacos.
No Waco.
Got it.
So 6-0, the Buckeyes on the march. We look forward to seeing you guys at North Lamar. I want to sign off tonight. I know that you are a Tennessee boy.
I am.
And a Tennessee fan, and we both know who's watching this broadcast. He watches it on the plane. He tells me all the time. So in your presence, I just want to say one thing. See, Josh, there is an opportunity to wear orange, coach for UT, and be excited about beating the team in crimson.
There you go.
Congratulations to all those guys that are out there tonight. Coach Traylor, big win on Friday nights. Boy, those guys own Friday night or what?
They're all over it.
I think we should petition UTSA to play all their games on Friday nights.
Undefeated,
and then we'll go undefeated. Yeah. Appreciate it so much. For myself, Todd Robinson, the host of this show, and the head coach and athletic director, Mr. Alan Metzel, we want to say thank you. We'll see the Army in North Lamar, north of Paris. If you need directions, just go to one of the websites. You'll be able to get directions on how to get there. A little bit difficult to find. Follow the lights. It's getting dark enough at night where you can see those lights shining, but the Buckeyes will be there, and they'll be there ready to play. So for ourselves, we encourage you to come out, and we'll see you next week. Go Buckeyes.